My name is John Wesley. I'm doing a podcast on you, so I would love for you to introduce yourself, introduce your company, and then we'll go through my script. We'll talk about the questions that I have and try to keep it as conversational as possible, and just dive into, like I said, your company and how you got to where you're at and the tools that you use to make it work, if that's okay. But if you'd introduce yourself, we can get started.
Hi, John. It's nice to meet you. I'm Peggy Cornelius. I'm the owner and creator of Cornelius Construction Company. I started out about 35 years ago because I love construction. I've loved it since I was 5 years old. I used to build forts in the trees behind my house. I would dig huge pits and build walls around them so that I could have an underground house. I drew plans when I was like 6 years old for my father to build houses in the backyard for me. My father was a salesman. He had no clue about construction. And of course, he never built me a house. So as I grew older, I still was in love with construction. However, it never occurred to me to be a contractor or an architect. I ended up being a school teacher.
Well, I did, I try to do my research a little bit before I get on a call with someone, just so I'm not just shooting in the dark. And I was impressed. My family has a few educators. My dad was an educator, my grandfather, his father was an educator, and my sister is now an educator. My baby boy is an educator. So on that side, I salute you. That's not something that I felt that I could do, but we need it. To be able to teach is not only important, but it's a skill. It's more than just talking at people. It's trying to understand what makes that person's brain click to the information that you're trying to get to stay in their head. So hats off to that. But the other part that I wanted to share is I too love construction. And I was the energetic kid. So my parents moved us from Austin to Elgin, which is a suburb. My grandfather had a ranch there, and his ranch was to farm, of course, but also he had a construction company. So riding back and forth to the construction sites to watch him cut lots and frame up for sheet, not sheetrock, but sidewalks and do the shrubs. He was all around with it. But I got to get my hands dirty early, and I continued on. After he passed, I started a decorative concrete business, and then I worked state and local government in contracts for construction. So I kept my hands in it for a while. So you said that you had this passion for it. You said that you were an educator. How did you make that switch? What was the drive to say, you know what, I'm going to be in construction. I'm actually going to build.
It actually happened later. I taught school, first and second grade, for 7 years. And then I had children of my own and did not have enough patience for school and my own kids. So at the same time, we had moved to Peoria, Illinois, and I was bored out of my mind. So I started painting.
Mm.
I had a minor in art when I was in college. So I started painting. All of a sudden, I was winning art shows and things like that. And I'm like, well, this is crazy. So then I started teaching painting, and that was great fun. Well, then we moved back here to Florida, and I bought an old house,
Okay.
and that was it. And I just somehow knew how to do everything. I knew when the plumbers had to come in. I knew when the electricians had to be there. I knew how to schedule people, and I knew what to look for. And I don't even know how I knew that, but I just did.
Yeah.
The house sold as soon as I finished it. So I thought, well, maybe I should do another one. So I drew the house plans from an old house. I love old houses. So I drew a plan, but with modern touches. And I stayed on the job site all day long. Every time the framers would hammer a nail, I'd be like, why are you putting 3 nails there? Why not just one? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And I stayed there on the job site all day long with a broom, sweeping and cleaning and watching, asking questions. And I'd say, all right, who comes in next? Just to verify that. And they'd tell me who would come in next. And then they would say, what I would tell them to tell me what was wrong with the people who were there before so that I would know what to prepare for the next one. So, for instance, I didn't know about deadwood, which you'd have to have for the sheetrock people. So, of course, when Bo Duncan got there, he's like, well, Peggy, you don't have any deadwood here. And this is what it does and why. So, every single sub trained me what to look for and how to do it. It was a fabulous education, a lot more than I got. I was also going to school at night to get a contractor's license. I had no choice. I just had to do it.
Sure.
I
Well,
can't
that's
explain it.
that's the
Just
best education to say that you're hands on, but also it's not the normal laborious task when you love it, like you say that you did. And my mom, like I said, she moved us from Austin to Elgin, and she convinced my dad to buy a really old home with beautiful hardwood floors and ceilings. And she built all the way around it. And they live in it now, but to watch how she navigated that and found the cedar, that's what she wanted inside the cedar to match the ceilings. And I think it's called a spider web roof. It has really high pitches, about 4 pitches, which took a really special carpenter to come in there and make the new part still match. And I remember it stuck with me. It's a beautiful home now. And no, she didn't want to continue on with it, but it was in her blood because my grandfather too was at that. So again, it's cool to see somebody find their niche
yeah.
and drive through whatever they had to drive through to get the certifications to be able to do that and be a professional in it.
State of Florida, you have to be a certified contractor to work here. If not, or if you even let somebody work under your license to build houses, you get fined very heavily, and it is illegal to do that. You
Wow.
have to be on the job site, you have to know what's going on, and you have to be an educated, certified licensed contractor to frame, not to frame, but to build houses,
Hmm.
to build any kind of building in the state of Florida.
Yeah, real different here in Texas how they do that, and a lot of people don't necessarily have the education. They just grew up in it. Where, yeah, like you say in Florida, they're really, really strict with that. And I think in a lot of ways that's good,
It's
because
really good. I mean, considering there are so many hurricanes here, I
yeah,
mean, we have to pay attention. We're surrounded by water. I mean,
sure.
it's important that we pay attention here.
Well, I wanted to shift a little bit into I guess the bones of your business. Okay. I wanna talk a little bit about what your day to day looks like. You can't, in my mind, go do 30 rebuilds at one time. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, you have to know the schedule of the trades coming in and out. I'm sure that you have contractors that you work with that you've built a good relationship with. Therefore, you can know when they need to be in there, and if you have another project, when to get them to the next project so you can keep things going. How do you do your bidding? How do you estimate what this is going to cost and get pricing out? Can you talk to me about some of the specifics in your day to day that you do with your position?
Sure. So almost, I would say 7% of our customers are repeat customers or they are referred to by our customers. I don't have people just walk in the door. That just doesn't happen because I don't know. I've been doing it for so long. I have a reputation, and so people just call me. And I mean, right now we've got people waiting over a year for me to start work on their house. The frame people that I use, the men that come and do the work, most of them have been working with me since I started, since my electrician himself, Alex Limbaugh himself, wired my first house. He now has 14 trucks on the road, but he still comes by my job and we still talk on the phone. I bet we talk on the phone 3 times a week just because we have to. Sometimes we don't even have to. We just my plumber is the same way. My heating and air conditioning people are the same way. I still use the same insulation people from when I first started. And I know they know what I expect, and I also know what they expect. I know how long they're going to take things. I still bid every single job and I get proposals from them. I draw the plans usually and then have an engineer look at the plans, certify them, and do the engineering. But then I send it out for bids. They do the bids, they come back, I put all those together, and then I can make a proposal to do the work, whether it's a remodel or new construction. I do both. Right now, we have 4 projects that are in remodeling, and we have 1 that is brand new construction. In fact, we are finishing the framing on it today.
It's awesome that you were that hands-on and that intricate with it. It takes a lot of brain power and stamina because you have other things that you have to do.
Superintendents, I mean, I have 2 superintendents who run the jobs in the field, and if they have any questions, they call me. And
Mhm.
I usually go by the jobs every other day just to check them. I mean, I've already been to it's 10 o'clock here, and I've already been to 2 of the jobs this morning, and then also got a proposal ready this morning. But you have to go by and make sure everything's going on. And at the end of the day, both of my superintendents give me like a 10 sentence write up about what happened on their job that day so that if the homeowner calls me, I know what's going on.
Sure. Sure. No,
Uh,
you're doing it the way that I was taught to do it.
Good.
Yeah, my grandfather, he had 6 sons, and each of them had a trade.
Yeah.
But he would go to their site to make sure, hey, this needs to be loamed out to this slope, but you're doing underpinning with here. This needs to be tightened up. If you're doing the shrubs, everything is measured out correctly. But he went by every single site. And as they got older and better in it, he could relax a little bit. But the conversation when we got back home was where we at? How's this going? When are we going to finish this? And he kept the notes. Now that blew my mind. Now I guess that's 2 generations pretty much removed. Things are a lot more digital. Things move a little differently, but the information that is being captured is exactly the same. And
Yes.
so to hear that that's what you're doing, definitely puts a smile on my face, and that just takes me back. So that's awesome. Um, is this a family run business or is it just you? Do you have other people in your family to do it? How do you keep the lines of communication not only current but accurate and documented? Because like I said, you got multiple sites, you got several people that you're dealing with. How do you make that work?
Nobody, I'm the first person in my family that's ever been in construction.
Okay.
Neither my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, no, I mean, they're like, "You're doing what?" I mean, it was very odd for me to go into that. However, I have a daughter who graduated from Parsons School of Design in New York. She has a great artistic eye, and she decided that it was time for me to retire. And so she had been working with me off and on over the years. And she said, I want to do construction. I'm like, really? So she went back to school at night and she got her contractor's license. However, she ended up getting married and they ended up buying a boat. And so she retired and I still got to work, which is even better. So it worked out. I can ride work. I can work all day and I love it. It's perfect.
Wow. Wow. That's
We're staying in touch. I have a wonderful woman, Jasmine, who works in the office and takes care of all the finances and everything. She's in the office all day, every day. And besides doing finances, she can go out and help me pick out tiles. She can go by and check on the jobs and make sure if they need anything. Like this morning, she's going to go get a couple lock boxes to put on 2 new jobs that are starting this afternoon and putting keys in the lock boxes. I have Trish, another woman who is working as a superintendent. She really likes the remodels. And then I have Jerry who does new construction and major remodels. So, and they, yeah, report to me every day. So, it just works.
Well, you are a Renaissance woman, to say the least. I've had the opportunity to interview probably 4 women that are truly in construction, not in sales, not in
Yeah.
marketing, and to have their conversation explained to me on their idea and what they've done to get there and the struggles that they've overcome is always inspiring, but I look at my mom as that Renaissance type woman too. She was very, very business and federal government, one job her whole career. To watch her ascend in the IRS over the years, and you could truly see the phases that she was going to. Was very impressive. So, I'm chasing my mom, trying to get corporate,
Yes.
but after, following behind my grandfather and my dad in construction, so I was torn. Again, I salute you. You spoke
Something interesting.
say it again?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something interesting because you asked about trials and problem solving and stuff like that.
Mhm.
When I started in this, there was only one other female in our entire Duval County area
Mm,
that was a contractor.
okay.
I was I was a rule breaker in that women weren't supposed to be contractors. And the other woman who was getting her contractor's license the same time I was getting it because her husband could not pass the exam. And he was a great framer and knew everything in the field, but it was technical to pass. It was a very difficult exam, very difficult. So anyway, she took the exam and got it. And then her husband was able to get his license through her.
Right.
The only person I've ever had trouble with are men in suits. How about that?
Okay. You stumped me there.
One time, the subcontractors respect me 100%, always have. They realized that I really wanted to learn and that I loved it. And so they would teach me. So they knew that I knew because they had already taught me.
Sure.
Only men in suits want to do a pushback. I actually had an attorney. I walked into the office one day to pick up the check that he owed me. And he gets up, then sits down and puts his feet on the desk and says,
Uh,
"Well, I have your check ready today."
yeah. Well, I do know those barriers.
That's the only time I've had a pushback.
That's impressive.
5 years, isn't that crazy?
That is impressive.
One time, and I learned what to do after that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that some of the horror stories that I've heard, you don't have to share, and that's really cool, especially to be one of the first in your area. That's impressive, and I'm glad to hear that. It shouldn't be how it has been. So I'm happy to hear your road wasn't that tumultuous. Not to say it wasn't hard, but you didn't have people just directly being disrespectful.
Never. I have no lots of times I'll walk up onto the job and the call will go out, "Female on site," so they clean up their language or whatever.
Right. Right.
The men I love my men. I go to weddings, I go to their baby showers and stuff like that, it's amazing.
So
I just wonderful people.
you have extended family through your subs now, and that's cool. And I know I did the north side of the University of Texas flat work and the restrooms with the acid staining, and we did a lot of scoring of the concrete to get
Yes.
the Longhorn in, and so I would cut out and then put styrofoam in, pour concrete around the styrofoam, chip that out, and then put a different. Yeah, it was beautiful. I love the project. I love
Oh,
the project,
yeah.
and I was pretty young, but I understood that my subs were my lifeblood,
Yes.
and I didn't have the bonding power to do it on my own. And so I got some other jobs I was really able to work on, the Missouri State Park, the Johnson Shut-In Park. I got to do that, and so those were some of my big ones. But you do start building extended family when you're working with these guys
Yes.
and ladies over the years. Let me get into some questions. So I don't want to take up your whole day. I know you're busy, but can you tell me some of the pain points in the business? Some of the things that when you got started, you were just like, this is difficult. And you had to work through, find a workaround, or at least an SOP to where you could more easily navigate these problems. Can you give me a couple of those problems off the top of your head?
So, one of the very first jobs I had, and this is crazy, but I mean, I think back on it now and I think, God, I must have been crazy or something. We got ready to do the work and realized that there was nothing but mush underneath the land. And I was like, now what do I do? Yeah,
Sure.
I just had no clue because it was on the river. And what had happened is over the years, people had been filling and they wanted to build a square foot brick house
Mm,
on landfill.
right.
So, I mean, what I did is I went to an engineer and he was an old timer engineer. And I just sat down with him and he talked to me about it, told me what I had to do. I mean, we were sitting there listening to opera while
Mm,
he was talking about the technical parts of it. It was just magic sitting. And he said, you're going to have to find somebody who can do deep core boring. I didn't know what a deep core boring was.
yeah.
So he pointed me in the right direction. And there was a guy who had just moved here from Texas who worked on, y'all have like where you drill out in the ocean for oil and stuff. He had worked on the oil rigs out there and knew how to do deep drilling and had just started a company here. It was the most exciting day. It was so much fun. And we put in 28 pilings.
Wow.
So what you do when you hit something like that, that you think, oh yeah, I can build this house. And all of a sudden you realize there's no foundation under there. You just have to figure out who would know and go to them to find out. I don't know what else.
You worked your way
Yes.
through the information with conversations, and you found what you needed. That's
Yep.
that's cool, and that is an awesome story to say
Crazy.
something that you
And that was like
never delved in. Well, we do a lot of well drilling here in Texas, so those
you hit water after you go down 4 feet.
exactly. Well, my horror story is when you have wells like that, they're normally about 3.5, 4 feet around, at least back then, 30, 40, 50 feet down. And when they fill up with sediment, somebody has to go get that out.
Wow.
And I was that little kid on the rope in the bucket with a lantern with my grandfather on top. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Those cores aren't that normally that big around, but that's a neat process to watch too, especially if you hadn't
So
seen.
I'll tell you another weird thing that happened. I was pouring a slab, which wasn't a big deal, and we were getting ready to finish the slab, and it started snowing. I mean, it doesn't snow in Florida.
No,
And we're like, and the concrete guys are freaking out. Like,
concrete does not set up under 32 degrees. Yeah.
no. And I mean, it's snowing hard, hard enough that we ended up building snowmen in the yard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Freak storm that hit us. It shut down the interstate. And I'm like, now what do I do? And somebody told me that you have to throw straw on it to keep it warm. So though, I mean, it's all technical stuff that you don't normally know about is what kind of keeps it interesting, but you also learn from it and you just have to go to your resources and ask.
Well, I had a similar situation at Johnson Shut In. And yeah, it does get cold there, but we weren't expecting snow. And I got about 5 trucks, and we
Nope.
had to throw accelerant in the truck while you spin it. So when you pour it, you can screed it, and it's warmed enough to let it set.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I say it again.
That was within the past 20 years.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can put an accelerant in there. They chunk it in the back of the truck, and they spin it real quick and pour it out. but you got to get it screeded out because that accelerant is making it set faster. Okay, so you talked briefly about the lady in your office,
Yes.
and she's taking care of your day to day busy work with the finances, with the bills, with the communication. You don't go looking for clients. You have a reputation or people are walking through your door. Is there busy work that she's doing? And I don't want to say negative busy work, but there's the work that you have to do.
Yeah.
Answering the emails, answering the phone, scheduling whomever. Is that some of the work that she's doing? Is there something else that she could help you do if something could take over that spot? If something could answer the phone and target your emails where you need to do and schedule things for you. Some companies that I deal with, they have three people. I mean, I've dealt with some of the larger construction companies here in Texas as well. And they had 2 to 3 people answering phones, answering emails. I helped them solve that problem so these people could potentially do something else. How busy is she? You said she runs errands for you. Is that an all day process? I just wanted to understand that part. You said you have a lady that's taking care of your admin type stuff.
So, yeah, she probably has to write 10 checks a day, 15 checks a day. She has to order material for the jobs, all the plumbing fixtures, the wallpaper, whatever we need on the job. When it comes in, she receives it. We have a storage area where each customer has their own shelf. So when the material comes in, she puts it in there. And when the plumber's ready for all the valves, she puts them out, and the superintendent comes by, picks up the valves. She gives them to him. They check it off that they've been given out. And then the plumber can put in the valves or light fixtures or whatever it happens to be. The superintendents order their own materials on the job. When they're working with the framers, they call the lumber company that we're working with and order the materials that need to be on the job. Or when they're working with the electricians themselves supply their own wires and all that sort of thing. Even with the sheetrock people provide their own material.
Hmm.
Basically, the superintendents are scheduling and making sure the jobs are going well. Jasmine makes sure that all the bills are paid, that we have money in the bank, that if we need to transfer something, because we've got too much money in the bank because the banks don't give you any money on the money you have in the bank.
Yeah, yeah, understood.
Unbelievable. So she handles all that. She makes sure that the office is neat and clean and tidy and orders everything and checks it in, checks it out. And she has a good design eye. So she's now going, if somebody wants some ideas, she'll go to the tile shops and pick out tiles and stuff for us to show them, or wallpaper to show them. So she's kind of a jack of all trades and
Sounds
good at it.
sounds like it. Jasmine's a beautiful name. One of the girls is named Jasmine. The other one is Serena. Yeah, that's cool. And okay, that I just love to your organization and the process. I see it. I understand it. It makes good sense to me, and I can only smile. My brain works that way. So, again, congratulations on that. I'm gonna wrap this thing up here in a second. Um, are there any industry trends that you see in your field that you're interested in, or that you've seen or are seeing and it's caught your eye? Are there any things that have changed since you started to now that is changing the industry itself? Can you talk to me about anything like that if you've seen anything?
Energy efficiency, rules and regulations are 10 times more than when I started, at
Okay.
least, maybe more than that. Safety issues, which is critical. People are still building houses with wood and nails and saws. A big change are the nail guns. When I started, there were no nail guns.
No,
Huge change. Pump trucks for concrete, huge change.
cuts the time in half, doesn't it?
It's impressive.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Mhm.
it is. Well, I don't know. I've said it probably 5 times now, and I'm really impressed with you. Not to say that I wouldn't have thought to be, but I love the way that you love what you're doing and that you've really gathered a real strong core of knowledge about what you're doing because it was passionate to you. And now that you're making it work, I can do nothing but smile when I hear you talk about what you're doing. And I
Thank
love
you.
the way your brain clicks when I ask you a question because you're reaching back. And that's really cool. I will wrap this up and tell you what I will do with this information. I'm just basically going to analyze it and I'm going to come back to you and say, hey, this is what we talked about. This is what you do. That's your information. That's for you to teach. If there's something that I can offer to you as far as insight or something that would maybe streamline what you're currently doing, I'll present it to you.
Okay.
And you say, hey, John, that sounds cool. Can you tell me more about that? Or thank you for the information, but we're going to keep going like we're doing. My job is really to help people get over bottlenecks, be more efficient, utilize what they currently have better. My passion is these conversations. And so I get to talk to people with no pressure and hear their stories, and they're documented in a sense because it's recorded here and I can send you the transcript. And if I can cut up what we talked about and spotlight your business, I'll do that. I'll put that onto my YouTube channel, um,
Thank you.
and make that kind of a publicity thing. And so I would ask you to again tell me your name and your website and the name of your business so I can have that in a clean clip and I'll stick that on and I'll cut that up so that that looks right. But your outfit and your background all matches. That's really, really sharp. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. So if you
It's
could introduce
impressive.
yourself again, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you. So my name again is Peggy Cornelius. My company is Cornelius Construction Company. I have an Instagram account. I saw this young girl taking movies and I said, do you do that for construction? So she comes and films me maybe a couple of times a week and I talk about rules and regulations and things that are going on in construction. And I'm thinking that it's Instagram is Cornelius Construction. Yeah.
I wanted again to say thank you. You are a gem, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much. I also wish you the best. John, it was very nice meeting you. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon, and y'all stay safe out there. Construction is what it is. You care.